What up, IDS Mob? It's your boy, HarryWilmington, back once again with the Introvert Dating Success Show, courtesy of introvertdatingsuccess.com. And on today's show, we're going to talk about 4 ways you can avoid being a slave to your biology when it comes to dealing with women. Now, why is that such a bad thing, and why do you need to avoid doing that in the first place? Well, I got this idea because I was watching a show earlier today by another content creator, and it was a woman who gives advice to women about not being so stuck on having to be a boss, independent babe, and how to actually get men. But she was interviewing this male content creator who is a psychologist, and what he was talking to her about was just kind of answering some of the questions that she had and that other women had as it pertains to men, their thinking process of dating. But one of the things he said that I thought was interesting was that he said women need to stop being a slave to their biology because oftentimes it leads them to make bad choices or overlook things that they need to be looking at when trying to pick a partner in lieu of him having a certain biological trait that she wants. So for example, in the show, he said, women want a guy that's tall, 6 feet 4, whatever. And so a woman may see a guy that's 6'4" and be like, yep, I'm going to pick him, and completely ignore that he's been abusive in the past or he's trying to use her for her money and all this other stuff. Okay. And so as I'm listening to him say this, I thought to myself, you know what? That's a great point. But men also make the mistake of listening to their biology when it comes to dealing with women. And as a result of that, sometimes they either miss out on or completely just decide to look over any red flags that a woman may have, and it can be to his detriment. Also, at times, a guy can be so stuck on the things he wants biologically from a woman that a woman that would be a great pick but doesn't necessarily have all those biological things in place, he might pass over her in lieu of somebody else that could be a bad pick. So I thought it was interesting, and so I just kind of want to talk about that a little bit. So basically, like I said, just like this guy was talking about how women, they'll look for certain traits in guys like, oh, he's got to be strong, he's got to be masculine, he's got to be flirty or whatever. There are certain things that most men are looking for in women. And so because of these things, it can be very easy for us at times to see a woman and just based on her physical appearance or how her voice sounds or how she smells, we get so blinded by all that we automatically fall for her, and we're already deciding before we even get a chance to even talk to her that she is going to be the one. She is the woman for us, and we've done no vetting. So perfect example. And again, these are things that they're going to vary from guy to guy depending on various things like how you grew up, things you watched growing up, and then just again, some of this just natural biological stuff. But for example, most guys like boobs. Like most guys looking at boobs, there's a range there obviously from like A cups to like B, C's, D's, E's, et cetera, that a guy may like. But the point is, usually most guys like to see some level of curvature in the chestal area on a woman. So you go out there as a guy, and you open the door, you go outside, you see women walking around. Every single woman you look at has some level of boobage there, and you're infatuated with like every single one you see. Oh my gosh, she's got really nice rack there. Oh my gosh, she's got curves, this and that. So you may go to a woman and just be like, oh, I want to talk to her. And biologically, your body's like, well, she has the curves I like. She has, her butt is looking really nice. She's got the symmetrical face going on. And these are all important things because, for example, with boobs, it goes back to nature of, oh, this woman's going to be able to feed our kid. Should she have a kid with me and he needs to be breastfed? Or, oh, she's got a symmetrical face. That's indicative of, being well balanced and also being able to have children that are going to look really, really healthy. So there's a variety of biological things that men typically like. We fall for smells because, a person that smells good, it turns us on, it arouses us. It's the whole pheromone thing. It causes us to want to have them sexually. Like I said, the way women dress, the way they're looking with their bodies, all these things are examples of things that as men, we're going to react to just based on the biology of the woman. Okay. But here's the problem, is that many men overlook other things that are going to be important in order for an actual relationship to develop with that woman. And let's face it, guys, let's be real, okay? We will see a woman that we like. She has all the biological stuff that we find appealing, and we will forgo any kind of common sense that we have about trying to get a woman. Or we might have even had instances in the past where, that whole, that song Poison to never trust a big butt and a smile, where we're seeing big butts and we're seeing their smile and we're thinking they're the hot stuff. They're going to be genuine. They're going to be weird. Because as guys, we equate, if we see a woman that has all the biological stuff that we want, we equate that with, oh, therefore she must be a good catch. Like she has the right curves I want. She has the smell I want. She must be a good catch. And we base that solely on the biology of stuff. But have we taken time to take them on a date? Have we taken time to actually talk with them, to learn their backstory about their life, to learn how they treated previous people in previous relationships, to see how she's currently treating people now, whether it's the server, the waiter, her friends, her family, etc., how she's talking about them? Are we going back to her place to see if she has a messy place versus a clean place? Like, these are all the other things that in terms of making a relationship last long-term are going to be important. Now, that is not to say at all that the biological aspects of things are not important on some level. It's just that they can't be superseding these other various things that could cause it to be a good connection, because you might actually end up missing out on somebody that could be good for you that doesn't have all the biological stuff. For example, you might meet a woman that has a decent size boobs, but she has a flat butt. But you might be a butt guy. So now you're going to be like, oh, she has no butt. Oh, I can't deal with that. Well, she might have been a person that, is entrepreneur and she's thinking of ideas that can help your business. And she's also like, but I want to be able to let you lead and I'm going to stay home and take care of the kids while you're out there conquering the world. And your response is, but she's got a flat butt, so I'm not going to pick her. That's the same as a woman being like, well, he has everything that I want in a man, but he's only 5'10". Now, even though I'm 5'7", he's still not over 6 feet, so he's got to go. Doesn't that sound stupid? So then it also sounds stupid when if there's a few ticks off that aren't checking off the boxes here and there on a biological level that you should completely get rid of a woman altogether. Yes, it is important that you like the way a woman looks, the way that she feels, the way that she smells, and ideally it's going to be somebody that's going to turn you on in the bedroom. I'm not saying that if she doesn't turn you on, you still got to date her anyway. What I'm saying is you may want to consider that some of the things you find just so important are really not as important as other things that would make her a long-term partner. So what I want to talk about is these are 4 ways that you can avoid being a slave to your biology. And I say slave in a sense that if you're constantly making picks based off of how a woman is turning you on a biological level, but you're not having the success that you want in terms of making these things long-term, then it may be because you're so focused on the exterior stuff and the biological stuff that you're ignoring all the other stuff that could actually make it work. And I want you to get out of that, because if you're a slave to your biology, you may never end up getting with a woman long-term that could actually be beneficial to you, okay? So just 4 little things here, okay? The first one is start to study your body's reaction when you see women, okay? Really pay attention to, when you see a woman, what things are you reacting to? Are you reacting to her height, the fact that she's shorter than you for the most part? Are you reacting to the way her curves look? Are you reacting to her smell? Are you reacting to her face? Are you reacting to how her hair looks? Really pay attention to what things are turning you on and how you're reacting. And then also study the women that you see that don't have those things, how you react to them, and then start to ask yourself, like, why is that? Like, why is it that this one over here that has a C cup, I'm very attracted to, but the one over here that has like an A cup or B cup, I'm not turned on by, in spite of the fact that she has other various parts of her that I do like, and the fact that we talk, we get along great, we have a good rapport building, we like the same stuff, but something about her I'm not turned on, like, what is that? But start to study those reactions, because what you'll start to realize is that when you see the kind of woman that biologically turns you on, you'll have some kind of nervous system reaction, whether it's in your head, whether it's in your groin, whether it's whatever, but you're going to have some kind of reaction that is drawing you towards that person. And again, if you're a person that's been doing that and you're still single, then you might want to start thinking about why it is that you're reacting in a way to all these women that have these similar biological assets that somehow don't work out or that are end up being toxic in the long run, okay? You really got to start looking at what that is. The second thing is, recognize that your biological reaction is normal, but don't give you the full story about her. So you see a woman, she's got nice curves and some nice hair, and you have this reaction of like, oh crap, she's beautiful, she's gorgeous, she's the one. And that's the first thought we typically go, you guys, be honest. The first thought we typically have is like, oh my gosh, I want to make her mine right now. But recognize, just because she has the looks that you want, that does not give you 100% of who she actually is. That gives you an idea in your head about, honestly, the kind of what you'd want to do to her, and that she'd be a fun person to do that said thing with. But you have to go beyond that, because honestly, in a relationship, as you're dating a person longer and longer, the biological aspects of who she is, they're not going to be nearly as important. It's going to become monotonous because you see the person every single day. And so those things aren't going to turn you on as much as when you first met her. There'll still be turn-ons, but not as much. So what other things does she have there? And the reality is you do not know yet what that is. You don't know if you have similar interests. You don't know her life story. You don't know if you guys are going to get along well. You've barely heard her voice yet. You don't know like what kind of conversations you're going to have that are going to either be deep or really annoying. Like, you know none of that. You don't know if she's going to be a good life partner. You guys have similar goals with each other. If you guys want to have the same amount of kids or not have kids, like, you know none of that stuff. So yes, looking at her and being able to see that she's biologically what you want is one aspect of this that is important, but there's so many other ones that are going to be better determinations of if you two are going to go the long haul, okay? The third thing to do is to examine how you got to like the kinds of women you like and see if it's healthy. On some level, a lot of the stuff's going to be biological, but some of the stuff is also based off the environment that you grew up in, what you saw, what you heard, and then you reacted to those things. For most of us, our first interaction with the opposite sex is our parents. So in this case, it'd be our moms, okay? Our moms, our aunts, our grandmas, etc. And this is going to probably sound gross, but as gross as this sounds, I'm going to say it, okay? A lot of aspects of how these first women in your lives end up being the blueprint for the kinds of women you're going to go after later. So if you're, for example, we're in a family where, say, your mom was constantly cursing up a storm, you might end up subconsciously being attracted to women out there that curse up a storm. Well, that's not a problem except for when you get into, arguments and disagreements where you're wanting to keep things calm and she's going to curse you out all the time. How'd that happen? Well, there was some biological stuff there, but also that was part of your environment. You grew up around that, and that's how you're used to communicating, and that's what the first opposite sex person that was in your life was doing, and now that's your blueprint for what you're trying to find out there, okay? So some of you might be in families where like all the women had big boobs, and then unbeknownst to you, subconsciously, you're now also going after women that had big boobs. But with those big boobs, what other things came? Was women in your family like anxious, or were they disagreeable, or were they constantly depressed about stuff? And then are you now going out there and finding women that had big boobs, but also have these other negative traits that the first woman in your life had that you weren't even aware was going to be a thing that would influence your pick in women? Okay, so you really have to look at what was in your environment that may have made you be turned on by some of the things that you're turned on by, and then really ask yourself, are all these things positive things? Are there some of these things that, as much as I may be drawn to them, I'm starting to recognize is not a good thing to be drawn to? And then what can you do to change that pattern? Whether it's going to therapy, whether it's reading books, whether it's signing up for one-on-one coaching with HarryWilmington, but anything you can do to just recognize that's what's going on so you can change that thing to really get a better, a healthier outcome for the things you should be looking for and the kind of women you should be getting with, okay? And then the fourth thing I said is to give yourself time to vet properly before deciding on being in a relationship with any woman, okay? Because here's the thing, if you're a slave to your biology, as soon as you see a woman that has all the right curves and the right parts, you're gonna be like, that's it, she's mine, it's a wrap. And so many men have done that where they do that, they get into a relationship too soon, and then they're either asking her out too much, talking to her too much, they're at her beck and call, or they end up with her, but it ends up that she's actually a very toxic person, but because she has the right looks, it makes it harder for him to get away, especially once you guys have had sex together, okay? So before you get into all that, recognize, again, this is why it's important to recognize what your reaction is going to be. When you see a woman that is attractive, you're going to want to go up to her and talk to her and try to get her on a date, and that's all very, very good. That's why, on some level, the biology part is important. But after you get her to say yes to a date, you got to say, okay, now let me go into my analyzation mode. Before I just completely fall for this woman and try to claim her as mine, let me really take her out. Let me ask her these questions. Let me see what she's about. And let me really vet this person. And let me take my time doing it. Because you don't need to try to get a woman on a date and then a week later have her be in a relationship with her, okay? This is why I tell you guys, it needs to be a 2 to 3 month process. On average, it takes a woman 2 to 3 months to solidify her feelings for you, which is good news for you because that means that you can take your time being patient and really seeing if this woman is more than just what her biology is telling you she should be to you, okay? So yeah, she looks great, she's pretty, she smells good, blah, blah, blah. That's all fantastic. But in those 2 to 3 months, really see what's going on beyond that. When you see her on a date, she's looking to the 9s and 10s, but what does she look like when she gets up in the morning with no makeup on, fresh face, she's speaking all those sweet words to you now, but in 2 months, let's see what happens when you guys have your first fight. How is she talking to you? Is she willing to compromise? Is she willing to at least listen to you and understand you? Like, what things is she actually doing? How is she as an actual person? You get a chance to see her around other people and see how she's interacting with them. Like, really recognize that, again, biology is important, but that's the first reaction that we're going to have. You got to slow this thing down to be able to react to other ways that she's going to be outside of just who she is built up as a person to really figure out if she's going to be the right one for you. Okay. So just recognize that, hey, we're visual creatures, guys, and we like the things that we see, but we're making all these judgments based on sight. We're seeing a woman and assuming she's everything that we want her to be. And that could be far from the truth, or it could be true. But either way, you're not going to know that. You're going to misjudge that if you're a slave to your biology. So please, please, please recognize that if you've been up to this point doing that, making those mistakes, just slow it down a little bit and start to analyze things other than her looks. And I promise you, you will be able to vet a lot better. And then when you do agree to a relationship with the woman, it's going to work out for you a lot more because you based it off of other things besides just how she looks. So hopefully this helps you out, guys. And hey, if you want my help with that, you can go to introvertdatingsuccess.com and sign up for a one-on-one coaching session. Also, guys, I'm currently turning one of my current programs into an ebook, an audiobook for you guys to be able to digest a little bit easier. That'll probably be coming out hopefully next month, just in time for Valentine's Day and stuff like that. So be on the lookout for that. But in the meantime, you can get my best-selling ebook, No Girls For You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams, which if you're single this time of year, it's definitely helpful to learn why it is that the things you're doing right now to try to get women and actually causing them to want to head for the hills, okay? You can get it for free by signing up for my newsletter. Just go to introvertdatingsuccess.com on the front page, fill in your name and email address, and once you do that, you'll have instant access to the audio and PDF version of that book, all right? Also, guys, if you want to show support for the show, you can go to youtube.com/HarryWilmington and subscribe today. You can also leave me a Cash App at $HarryWilmington. That's all I got for today, guys. I'm Harry Wilmington, and I'll catch you guys on the next show. I'm out. Peace.